Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Friend English podcast. I'm Ellie.
And I'm Danny. We're very happy to have you here with us today.
Whether you're listening at home, on your way to work, taking a walk, or simply enjoying a quiet moment, thank you for spending some time with us.
We always appreciate having you with us, and we hope today's conversation will be both interesting and helpful.
Today's topic is something that every single person experiences, no matter where they come from or what stage of life they're in.
That's right. Today we're talking about mistakes, and more specifically, we're talking about some of the biggest mistakes we've made in our lives.
At first, that might not sound like a very cheerful topic.
It might not, but I actually think it's one of the most important topics we can discuss.
I agree. When people talk about success, they often focus on achievements, accomplishments, and happy moments.
But they don't always talk about the mistakes, failures, and difficult experiences that help them get there.
Exactly. In many cases, the most valuable lessons in life come from moments when things didn't go as planned.
When I look back on my own life, I can honestly say that some of my greatest lessons came from decisions I wish I had handled differently.
The same is true for me. There are certain mistakes that felt terrible at the time, but later became important turning points in my life.
That's one of the strange things about mistakes. While they're happening, they often feel like disasters.
But years later, we sometimes realize that they taught us something we couldn't have learned any other way.
Of course, that doesn't mean making mistakes is enjoyable.
Definitely not.
Nobody enjoys feeling embarrassed, disappointed, or frustrated because of a bad decision.
And yet, those feelings are part of being human. Every person listening to this podcast has probably made a mistake that they still remember today.
Maybe it was a mistake at school.
Maybe it was a mistake at work.
Or perhaps it was a mistake involving a friendship, a relationship, or an important life decision.
Whatever the situation was, most of us can remember at least one moment when we wished we could go back in time and do things differently.
I know I certainly can.
Me too.
You know, when I was younger, I used to think successful people were people who never made mistakes.
That's an interesting idea.
Looking back, I realized how unrealistic that belief was.
Why do you say that?
Because the older I became, the more I realized that successful people make mistakes just like everyone else.
The difference is that they learn from those mistakes.
Exactly. They don't let one bad decision define the rest of their lives.
That's a very important lesson for English learners as well.
Absolutely. Learning a language involves making mistakes every single day.
Sometimes you use the wrong word.
Sometimes you pronounce something incorrectly.
Sometimes you say a sentence and immediately realize it doesn't sound right.
But that's how learning works.
If you're willing to make mistakes, you're willing to improve.
And if you're afraid of making mistakes, you often stop yourself from growing.
That's such an important point.
Speaking of mistakes, Ellie, when you think about your biggest mistakes, what comes to mind first?
Honestly, the first thing that comes to mind isn't one specific event.
Really?
No, it's actually a habit that caused me problems for many years.
Now I'm curious.
For a long time, I spent far too much time worrying about making the wrong decision.
That sounds exhausting.
It really was. Whenever I had to make an important choice, I would analyze every possibility and imagine every possible outcome.
Were you afraid of making a mistake?
Very afraid. I believed that every decision needed to be perfect, and that mindset often prevented me from moving forward.
That's a mistake many people make without even realizing it.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people listening right now can probably relate to that feeling.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It's easy to believe that every decision will completely change our future.
And because of that, we sometimes spend so much time worrying that we forget to actually live our lives.
That's a powerful observation.
Looking back now, I realize that some of the opportunities I missed weren't caused by making bad decisions.
Really?
Yes, they were caused by not making decisions at all.
That's interesting.
Sometimes I was so afraid of choosing the wrong path that I stayed exactly where I was.
And staying still became its own mistake.
That's right.
I think many people imagine mistakes as dramatic moments.
Such as?
Losing a large amount of money, failing an important exam, or making a terrible decision.
Those certainly sound dramatic.
But some mistakes happen quietly.
That's true.
Sometimes the mistake is not speaking when you should speak.
Or not trying when you should try.
Exactly.
You know, your comment reminds me of something that happened when I was in university.
Really?
Yes, and at the time, it felt like one of the biggest mistakes I had ever made.
Now I definitely want to hear this story.
During my second year at university, there was a special program that allowed students to study abroad for a semester.
That sounds exciting.
It was. Students could spend several months in another country, meet new people, and experience a completely different culture.
I imagine many students were interested.
They were. In fact, several of my friends applied almost immediately.
What about you?
I was interested too.
So you applied?
No.
No?
No.
Why not?
Because I was afraid.
Afraid of what?
A little bit of everything, honestly.
Such as?
I was worried about being far from home. I was worried about traveling alone. I was worried about meeting new people and adapting to a different environment.
Those are understandable concerns.
They are, but instead of facing those fears, I allowed them to make the decision for me.
So you never submitted the application?
Exactly.
How did you feel afterward?
At first, I felt relieved.
Really?
Yes, once the deadline passed, I no longer had to think about it.
That makes sense.
The problem came later.
What happened?
A few months later, my friends began sharing photos and stories from their experiences abroad.
Ah.
They talked about the people they met, the places they visited, and the things they learned.
And you started wondering what might have happened if you had gone.
Exactly.
That's a difficult feeling.
It really was. For the first time, I realized that my biggest mistake wasn't failing.
It was never trying.
Yes.
That's a lesson many people learn at some point in life.
Looking back now, I don't regret every mistake I've made.
Really?
No, most mistakes taught me something useful.
But that one still stands out.
Because I learned absolutely nothing from avoiding the opportunity.
That's an interesting way to think about it.
If I had gone abroad and struggled, I would have learned something.
That's true.
If I had gone and discovered I didn't enjoy it, I would have learned something.
Also true.
But by staying home, I only learned what regret feels like.
That's a powerful lesson.
Thankfully, it changed the way I approached opportunities later in life.
How so?
I started saying yes more often.
Even when you felt nervous?
Especially when I felt nervous.
That's impressive.
I realized that fear isn't always a warning sign.
Sometimes it's a sign that we're about to grow.
Exactly.
You know, your story reminds me of a mistake I made during my first job.
Oh?
And unlike your mistake, mine wasn't about avoiding an opportunity.
What was it about?
It was about thinking I knew more than I actually did.
That sounds dangerous.
It turned out to be very dangerous.
Now I'm curious.
When I got my first full-time job, I was eager to prove myself.
That's understandable.
I wanted my manager and coworkers to think I was capable and confident.
Most people want that.
The problem was that I misunderstood what confidence really meant.
What do you mean?
I thought confident people always had the answers.
Interesting.
So whenever someone asked me if I understood a task, I automatically said yes,
Even when you weren't completely sure?
even when I was completely confused.
Oh no.
Looking back, it sounds ridiculous.
But I can understand why you did it.
I didn't want people to think I was inexperienced.
What happened?
One day, my manager explained a project that involved several different steps.
Were the instructions complicated?
Very complicated, at least for a beginner.
And you pretended to understand everything.
Exactly.
Let me guess, you didn't actually understand everything.
Not even close.
That's not a good sign.
It wasn't.
So what happened next?
For the next few days, I worked on the project by myself,
Without asking any questions?
without asking a single question.
I feel nervous already.
You should.
Why?
Because when I finally showed my work to my manager, there was one very big problem.
What was the problem?
I had misunderstood the entire project from the very beginning.
The entire project?
The entire project.
Oh, Danny.
That's exactly what I thought.
How did your manager react?
Honestly, much better than I deserved.
Really?
Instead of becoming angry, my manager asked a simple question.
What was it?
He asked, "Why didn't you ask for help when you were confused?"
That's a fair question.
It was, and I didn't have a good answer.
Because the real answer was pride.
Exactly.
Sometimes pride creates bigger problems than mistakes themselves.
I learned that lesson the hard way.
What happened after that conversation?
Well, my manager sat down with me and explained something that completely changed my perspective.
What did he say?
He told me that asking questions is not a sign of weakness.
That's excellent advice.
He said that pretending to understand something is often far more dangerous than admitting you're confused.
I completely agree.
Then he told me something I've never forgotten.
What was it?
He said, "Everyone expects a beginner to ask questions. Nobody expects a beginner to know everything."
That's such a simple idea, but it's incredibly powerful.
It really is.
How did that experience change you?
After that day, I became much more comfortable asking for help when I needed it.
And I'm guessing it made your work better too.
Absolutely. I made fewer mistakes because I stopped pretending to have all the answers.
That's a lesson many people need to hear.
Especially people who are learning something new.
Like learning English.
Exactly.
Many learners stay silent because they're afraid of making mistakes.
But asking questions is often the fastest way to improve.
Definitely.
You know, listening to our stories today makes me realize something.
What's that?
Most of our biggest mistakes weren't caused by a lack of intelligence.
That's true.
They were caused by fear.
Fear of failure.
Fear of embarrassment.
Fear of looking inexperienced.
Or fear of leaving our comfort zones.
That's a very interesting observation.
When I think about it, many mistakes begin long before the mistake itself happens.
What do you mean?
Sometimes the real problem is the mindset behind the decision.
I like that idea.
For example, I wasn't trying to do a bad job at work.
Of course not.
The real problem was that I cared too much about appearing competent.
Instead of focusing on learning.
Exactly.
And in my case, the problem wasn't the opportunity to study abroad.
The problem was allowing fear to make the decision for you.
That's right.
It's amazing how often fear appears in stories about mistakes.
It really does.
But there's another side to this conversation that I think is important.
What's that?
Forgiving yourself.
That's a great point.
Many people hold on to old mistakes for years.
Sometimes even decades.
They replay the situation in their minds again and again.
Thinking about what they should have done differently.
Exactly. Have you ever done that?
More times than I'd like to admit.
Me too. But eventually I realized something.
What did you realize?
The purpose of a mistake is to teach you something.
Not to punish you forever.
Exactly.
Once you've learned the lesson, carrying guilt for years doesn't help anyone.
It certainly doesn't help you.
That's true.
Imagine carrying a heavy backpack every day.
Okay.
At first, maybe there's something useful inside.
Such as a lesson you've learned.
Exactly.
But eventually, you need to take out the lesson and put down the backpack.
I love that comparison.
Thank you.
Holding on to the lesson is useful.
Holding on to the regret forever is not.
Well said.
Another thing I've learned is that mistakes often look much bigger in the moment than they do years later.
That's so true.
I can think of several situations that felt like complete disasters at the time.
But now they seem much smaller.
Exactly.
Sometimes life gives us enough distance to see things differently.
And sometimes we even laugh about mistakes that once made us cry.
That's one of the strangest parts of growing older.
It really is.
You know, if someone listening today is dealing with a mistake right now, what would you want to tell them?
That's a good question.
Take your time.
I think I would tell them that one mistake does not define who you are.
I love that.
No matter how embarrassing, frustrating, or disappointing a mistake feels, it's still only one moment in a much larger story.
That's a wonderful way to look at it. What about you? I would tell them not to waste too much energy wishing they could change the past.
What should they focus on instead?
I would focus on the next step.
The next step.
Yes, we can't change yesterday, but we can decide what to do today.
That's excellent advice.
Every mistake gives us a choice.
What choice is that?
We can either stay stuck in regret, or we can learn something valuable and move forward.
And moving forward is usually the better option.
Definitely. Looking back, I don't think a successful life is a life without mistakes.
I agree. I think a successful life is a life where we continue learning, growing, and trying again.
Even after things go wrong?
Especially after things go wrong.
That's beautifully said.
Thank you.
And I think that's a perfect note to end on.
We hope today's conversation has encouraged you to think about your own experiences.
Maybe you've made a mistake that taught you an important lesson.
Maybe you're still learning from it.
And maybe one day you'll look back and realize that what seemed like a disaster was actually an important turning point.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
We always enjoy spending this time with you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, we hope you'll join us again for another conversation soon.
Until next time, keep practicing your English, keep learning, and don't be afraid to make mistakes along the way.
Take care, everyone.
Goodbye.